from the front to the back, not back.
Look, I was going to go easy on you, not to hurt your feelings, but I'm only going to get this one chance. Something's wrong, I can feel it. It's just a feeling I've got. Like something's about to happen, but I don't know what. If that means what I think it means, we're in trouble. Big trouble. And if he is bananas, as you say, I'm not taking any chances. You just want the start order.
I'm beginning to feel like a nerd god. All my geeks from the front to the back nod. Cultural knowledge so rich, call us Butterworth. We spit fine, special snowflakes get butthurt. Film, comics, music, life. We're right, you're wrong. Fight us, but please don't sue us. Oh man, I swear to God, I sound better when I'm drunk.
Everyone sounds better when they're drunk.
Which, incidentally, I'm on my way to doing that.
As am I. I'm drinking a Hofbrau Original from Munich, a German beer.
Because, the Germans always make good stuff. Like Vince always says in those damn ShamWow infomercials.
Hey man, German engineering, it's good stuff.
Deutschland, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so you guys should know who we are. This is episode 2 of the Please Don't Sue Us podcast.
Episode 2, Please Don't Sue Us. Yep, the first one was rather rough, I admit. So, you'll like this one anyways, because this one's a lot better.
And every single one after that will be better than the last. And
so if you like the first one with, all our shittiness, you will love this one. And if you didn't like the first one, well, you'll like this one because it's not like the first one. So, haha, either way, you lose, we win.
Yeah, first one was kind of like a just balls to the wall kind of thing. We just kind of recorded it, didn't even edit anything.
We were just really excited to have the microphone finally. This microphone that we've been talking about getting so that we could do this shit. So, we just blew our load rather quickly. This is just that's all it was, just a knocking one out. Now this is the love making part.
Yep. This is going to
We're gonna be gentle. We're gonna lay you down by the fire.
Make love to you, woman.
So, starting at the gate, main topic we want to talk about, because we said this in the first one, is the MCU and the DCEU, which are their cinematic universes. Marvel Cinematic Universe, DC Expanded Universe, which is how they officially branded it. Don't know why, just could have just gone with
marketing
the DC
genius.
Cinematic Universe. DCCU? I guess it didn't have the same ring? I don't know. Who fucking cares? What matters is that people are acting more retarded over this than the actual Civil War.
Yeah. They seem to have a lot of panties in bunches and in knots in twisted ways that really shouldn't, because, well, it's stupid.
Mental gymnastics is what they normally call it. Just, saying shit that seems to work for one thing and it doesn't work for the other. Just completely ignore it. They pretty much identify themselves as hypocrites.
Yeah.
Gleefully so.
I mean, it's all about now, seemingly, it's just the bandwagon jumping. It's like, oh, hey, you hate it too because of this? Hey, me too. So it's not really there's any original thoughts out there. Just more like, let's just hate it for the sake of hating it because everyone else does it.
Yeah, it's really, as I've been saying, it comes to a brand loyalty thing. That's kind of where it's gotten from. I mean, it's been a tale as old as time. DC, Marvel are the two biggest comic publishers in history. They have the most iconic superheroes in their pantheons. One's a little bit older than the other, but I mean, they're different, and they both work in their differences. They're both very different animals. They've been since the beginning. Marvel has always been kind of a generator of just bombastic, fantastical new ideas, whereas DC has always kind of adhered to really a more traditional, mythical. Their heroes are mythical heroes. It's lore.
Yeah.
You know, it's mythology, whereas Marvel's been more of kind of just like an idea generator, just like all this new stuff coming out.
Yeah, I mean, you never just see what's coming, well, you used to not to see what was coming. These days it's kind of predictable what both sides are doing, ideas are get old or recycled, but...
Comics are kind of like the new soap operas, man. They just... It just like you find yourself in it and you're just like, why am I here? This is trash, but I can't stop.
But I can't stop. I love me my Spider-Man. I love me my Wolverines.
I learned to read from comics. I'm in too deep, man. I'm dyslexic. If it weren't for comic books, I wouldn't know how to read. I would not know how to read.
They are lifesavers.
They are... Well, I'm literate because of them. I have the vocabulary that I do because of comic books, which is... Yeah. Got that kind of... When something like that helps you overcome something as debilitating as dyslexia was for me, you tend to just kind of have a... Oh, they can do no wrong. It's just always gonna be there. It's just it's a little soft spot.
No, but then people with agendas and their bullshit start screwing up your childhood by making their dumbass stories. They'll ruin continuities and just fuck it up for everyone.
Continuity is so bad, but I mean, it's just like I said, people with agendas, or these capitalist people have agendas, and agendas change.
Yep.
But I mean, comics have now become, because now they're actually being taken seriously as a legit form of art, of media. Yeah. It has a weight to it, but at the same time, there's still people. There's a disconnect between like critics, film critics, and comic fans, or just the comic culture in general, because that's the thing now. Comics...
It's the cool thing to like.
It's the cool thing to like. Geek is chic. It's cool to be a nerd, where, a few years back we would be considered pariahs for just, like, talking about this shit the way that we do.
Yeah, I mean, like, even when we were in high school, like, that's kind of, like, the era of when this stuff started being out, like, the first Spider movie, the first X-Men movie.
Blade.
Prior to Blade, prior to that, been like, hey, what the fuck, man? You're reading comics, like, nerd, and then like they ridicule you for it. But like now it's like, oh, I've secretly liked comics this whole time, and
or
it's
like
cool
the
to like it.
Super goofy comic movies, like the old Superman series,
Yeah.
the old Batman series, fucking Batman and Robin with the goddamn rubber nips.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's going to the point like, you really don't know what to believe anymore. Like these people, like, oh, I'm a geek, I'm a nerd, I've liked this whole time. Like, okay, it's cool that it's out there and everything, but it feels kind of like
there's a lot of duplicitousness in the fandom, as it were. It's just like there's a great unrest, and yes, you have a lot of people trying to take advantage of using this infighting sort of as a platform for whatever political agenda that they have.
Yeah.
They try to put, all these different things that don't necessarily fit in comics. I mean, there's always going to be political allusions,
right,
hot button topics. Comics are kind of a reflection of the times. But at the same time, it's just like it becomes pandering when they're so obvious about it. When it's not even, a parable. It's just very thinly veiled propaganda.
Yeah.
It's just like that. At that point, you can't stomach it, and
and it's hard to not get upset of it. Just considering like, maybe us ourselves personally didn't go through like such heavy ridicule or anything against it, but there are people out there who did. And like it's understandable why these people would be upset that now this culture is the acceptable, when in their younger years they were ostracized, made fun of, bullied.
That's because these people are demanding inclusion. They're demanding respect.
Yeah.
From people that they used to belittle.
Yeah.
It's just like, why would you demand acceptance from the group that you ostracized? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. You can't demand respect. You have to earn respect.
Yeah.
Respect is earned. No one in the comics community, no one in the fandom ever demanded respect. It just happened. When you start demanding respect, that's when you really... That's what throws people off. People are just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm not going to respect you just because you asked me to. I have no reason to do so.
Yeah. You know, like...
It's not so much that it's like... I've seen the argument of it being a boys club treehouse bullshit. It's just, you know,
it's not even about that. It's about like what it meant, you know, to people. Like
what it meant to people. It doesn't mean the same things, and just like you come off as disingenuous when you come in without any kind of open-mindedness that you demand in return.
Yeah.
Like you don't even try to understand why people have these adherences that they do, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, why aren't you accepting me? It's like, well, maybe you should look in the fucking mirror.
Yeah. I mean, it's like this whole like new wave like geek nerd shit, you know. It's like it's that, you know, like, and it's also those people who are the ones who like go out and like do their fucking shitty posts or blogs about like how the new movies suck and everything. It's like you don't even know the history of
without respecting the source material. That's the whole thing. It's just this is kind of what's gotten into it with why there's so much, you know, hate spewing, why there's so much stirring of the pot, because they get mixed up with all these different things, because it's cool to hate her. Just like you have all these prestigious critics that are used to reviewing, you know, like the Sundance, the film festival darlings, and now they have to review like superhero films and all this stuff, because that's become the cultural norm. You know, comic books are now being taken seriously. They're having more exposure. They've always been cultural icons, but now they're really at the forefront of people's minds. Yeah. And they can't stomach it because they have, you know, palpable disdain for this.
Exactly.
It's like they demand that, you know, that the comics are, you know, they shouldn't be shallow, that they should have weight to them. And then when a comic book movie like Batman v Superman attempts to have weight, actually has a really complex psychological deconstruction of these characters, they're like, oh, it takes itself too seriously. It's like,
you can't handle it.
It's like, what the fuck do you want? That's the thing. No one knows what the fuck they want. Yeah. And that's why it comes to this whole, you know, if you like Marvel, you have to hate on DC, or vice versa, because it's become the thing. It's just like, oh, you know, the DC movies are too serious, they're not fun like the Marvel movies, and then you have the people saying that like the Marvel movies are all fluff, that there's nothing there. Yeah. But then, you know, it doesn't help when the people that bitch about the things that they claim don't work in the DC movies, like the body count in Man of Steel. Like they said, like all these people had to die, or they had to have died, and they didn't address it. You know, they basically pinned all those deaths on Superman when Superman was doing everything in his power to stop it from happening. You know, not to mention he was Superman for a day in Man of Steel. He was Superman for a day, a fucking day. Yeah. They keep comparing it to the Superman that had years of experience, the Paragon, the Big Blue Boy Scout, as they called him, you know, the one who could think his way out of any situation, do all this stuff. But this is Superman starting out. This is when him trying to figure out who he is, where he stands, what his place in the world is.
He's barely figuring himself out.
Figuring himself out. And he's thrown in the situation where he basically has to make
an
impossible choice. Yeah, it was just like, you know, he always thought he didn't belong anywhere. Now he meets his people, so he's like, oh, maybe I should, but they're bad. They're a bunch of fuckers. Yeah, I should stick with her.
At that point is, you know, a matter of perspective. Okay, as a point of, you know, Superman growing up as an Earthling, you know, the Zod and, you know, the gang there. I'm sure they may have been seemed evil or bad, but he knew so little about Krypton that it was a bad judgment. You couldn't really judge for sure. From my perspective, sure, Zod was an asshole, a bad guy. He wanted to take over the world, but
Oh yeah,
that was his
and
job.
If anyone thinks he could have gotten through that fight without killing Zod, or at least crippling him in a horrific fashion,
it wouldn't have been.
It wouldn't have worked.
No.
I mean, there is no way in hell Zod was gonna stop, because he even told him,
I'm not gonna stop.
I'm not gonna stop. It's just like, I'm gonna kill as many people as I fucking can until you stop me. Because at that point, he didn't care. He didn't have anything to lose.
He wanted to prove a point.
Yeah. He wanted to prove a point. He didn't have anything to lose. Clark did.
Exactly. So
that's the whole thing. And it's just like, oh, Superman wouldn't do that. Even though that there is a fucking comic. There is literally a fucking comic book where Superman executes Zod.
Yeah.
He may not have broken his neck, but he still killed Zod.
Yeah. And a big point about this, and this is kind of obvious, whether you agree or not.
They choose to ignore things.
The people bitching about these movies are the ones who like saw the fucking 90s cartoon and say, oh, Superman never beat anybody up, or some ridiculous shit like in the Superman versus Goku death battle, oh, Superman doesn't kick people. You know, like what kind of a dumbass thing is that?
He has legs.
He has legs. Like, what do you mean he doesn't kick people? So like these like fucking people bitching and moaning with their goddamn reviews and like saying like, oh, this doesn't happen. It's like they're just referring to the 90s cartoon. They've never picked up a comic. They've never read anything. They're just basing it off what they saw on TV when they were kids. You know, like this is a story, a movie saying how it would be if like in our real world this would happen. Like these fucking super creatures from outer space battling it out in the middle of the sea, there's gonna be collateral damage. And if you want to use the cartoon, every fucking episode there's collateral damage. Every time.
And this is what I keep telling people. Anyone who has ever bitched to me about the body count in Man of Steel, I tell them, watch this one episode of Justice League Unlimited called Clash, which is when Superman fights Captain Marvel. They literally it's a 4-minute fight scene.
Yeah.
In a 23-minute episode of a series that has close to 100 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
They destroy an entire city while there are people running around. It was a charity event.
Yep.
And this was the Superman that had been seasoned, that had gone through all this stuff. The one that they claimed was like their childhood idol that like Man of Steel raped.
Mm-hmm. And
he willfully fights another super being that is almost equally as powerful as him, destroys a city, and then he later finds out, oh, I didn't have to do that.
Exactly.
And no one fucking cared.
And that's just one episode.
That's just one episode.
Plenty of others.
That's 4 minutes of one episode.
Yep. There's, I don't know what, there's the episode where the Watchtower got hacked. They fucking blew off fucking Cadmus. You know, like, there is so much more collateral damage in the cartoons than there was in the movie. The movie was only like a few city blocks. Like, come on.
It's just funny that people keep bringing up, like, all these people died. Like, we were talking about when Cap throwing his shield around, killing people.
Captain America killed so many people.
So many people. But the thing is that's not the focus of it. It's just like, that was never the focus of it. There's always going to be collateral damage. It's what they do in those situations. Yeah. How willfully they destroy it. Like, even when Cap's, like, throwing his shield around, all those things were tactics. He did that
to incapacitate.
Or just, like, removing the picture to keep the collateral damage at minimum. If you understand these characters, you should understand that's what they're doing, instead of throwing all this just, like, you know... Okay, like, Superman has X-ray vision, you know, super hearing, all this stuff. When he's flying around the city, or, like, going through buildings and stuff like that, which they do this in the frickin' comics and in the animated shows and movies and all that time, all the time. Mm-hmm. They've shown him, like, knocking people through buildings, and in all those scenes, there's no, like, they never show people, but it's just like, what if all those people, what if there were buildings, you know, people in those buildings, but they don't focus on it, because, like, you trust the idea that Superman, who has you know, X-ray vision, can tell where people are and is not gonna be barreling someone through,
exactly,
willfully barreling some villain through a building full of people.
Yeah.
And I also gotta accept that there's some things that are out of his control. It's like, if you understand the character like that, like you claim,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be saying, like, oh, Superman's murder. It would be like, when someone said just like, oh, he flew through a building with Zod, it's like, well, you know, what if that building was empty? What if he knew that building was empty? Because he can fucking see through the fucking walls.
Yeah. Nobody bitched this hard about, you know, the Avengers movie when the fucking Chitauri just fucking wrecked all of New York.
Oh, that was the whole thing. That was actually a meme where they talked about, you know, how, what do you call, the Avengers, what do you call, saved the city, saved everybody, Man of Steel, all these fucking people died. It's just like, well, Civil War came out and showed that there actually was a screen that was tallying the deaths.
Exactly. And
it's
there
just,
it is, dude. Like, that's the difference we were trying to talk about.
They're saying that they didn't accept, they bitched at Man of Steel for not, you know, addressing the body count, yet it took Marvel 13 films to address the body count in their movies.
Yeah.
And people were fine with it, but, you know, Man of Steel and then the sequel, Batman v Superman, they immediately addressed the consequences of that, you know, the fight in Metropolis, which actually was part of the driving, you know, plot for the movie, was the consequences of that battle.
That's what it was.
People bitch about that. So they bitch about that, what do you call, they don't address the, you know, the seriousness of these superhuman god battles in a downtown area.
Yeah.
And then when they do, they're still not happy. That's the whole thing. It's just like a whole big pot of no one knows what the fuck they want.
Exactly.
And that's what it does. It just perpetuates this whole thing that just like, you have to like one or you have to like the other. And it's not true. They work in their own separate ways. It's just like, you understand that, you know,
what story it's being told.
What story is being told, the source material. They want to treat these things like they exist in a vacuum. They don't. These are cultural icons. They've been around for decades, almost a century in most cases. If you don't
know who they are, you don't know their origins, then
why are you even there? It's like they claim that they're going in this, you know, with, you know, the eyes of a child, that they've never experienced all this stuff before, and then they bitch about things that don't match up for what they remember. Yeah. So they know who these people are, and then they claim ignorance, which is why you get like a bunch of dumbass fucking, like, people are just mad about the dumbest shit. Like, if you actually used your brain, you wouldn't be mad.
Yeah. I mean, so let's talk specifically about, you know, Batman v Superman.
Yes.
You know, where this is a movie, you know, following up the Man of Steel, and, you know, talking about how it's so dark and gritty and everything. It's like, if you understood, like, what the whole point of the movie is and why it's so dark and gritty, is we're talking about, like, Superman right now. Like, a guy who knows the weight of what happened in that city because of his people.
And he feels it.
And he feels it. He feels regret, remorse. He's confused. He doesn't know what to do.
It's because there's people that praise him as a god.
And then people who, you know...
Vilify him.
Exactly. So he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He doesn't know what to do. So he looks sad. He looks conflicted.
As he should.
Know, as any normal person would, you know, in a situation with an impossible choice. You know, like, should I be the hero they want me to be? Should I be my own hero? What do? You know, like... He asked his mom, you know, what should I do? You know, like, be the hero they want, or, you know, be myself. You know, it's like...
People don't want... I guess they don't like the idea of Superman being a three-dimensional character. Yeah. They claim... See, that was one of the biggest things that... This is what I'm talking about. A lot of the hate or the detractions of Batman v Superman. Like, I haven't even checked Rotten Tomatoes lately, but it had like almost like a 30% last time I saw it, which is ridiculous. Because
these dumbass fucking so-called
it's
critics,
devoid of fun. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have these critics that they don't respect the source material. They have palpable disdain for what they're reviewing, and, you know, they influence, because, like, people now, this is what we're talking about, groupthink. They don't make their own decisions anymore. They go to Rotten Tomatoes, they go to Metacritic, and they just look at the number. They don't even check why people gave it a bad review. They
Yeah.
just see how many bad reviews it has, and that's what it
Yeah,
does.
like the
It turns
sheep
it into
they
a
are.
number. It turns it into a number. So
Yeah.
even these, disconnected critics, which are supposed to be professionals that don't respect the source material, don't care
Yeah.
about what it is, don't respect it.
Then just,
They still have the ability to sway people that are supposed to know what this is about or claim to know what it's about.
right.
It's just,
So
because
if
it's
you
just
can't
like,
handle
oh,
substance-
it has such and such bad reviews, it must be bad. So they go into these movies with preconceived notions and they find whatever they can to match what they already have in their head. If you go into a movie with everyone telling you it sucks, it's terrible, it fucking sucks, you're gonna start looking for reasons to
hate
justify
it.
that.
Yeah. And then you're just gonna, be upset, and you actually just set up yourself for failure at that point.
Yeah.
So
It becomes tainted, which
Exactly.
fucking sucks. Because it's just like you should experience it for yourself. And with what you understand, just go in. And if you have questions,
then there's the internet for
there's
that.
the internet. There's the
You know,
comics
like,
that
that's
these
the whole
things
point.
are based on.
And exactly, like, again,
People forget
There
that
is
these
no
things have
reason
source
for it.
material.
Yeah.
They don't exist in a vacuum. They're fucking nearly a century old icons. Both Batman and
So
Superman are
what do
old
you
for
need to know?
75 years.
what do you need to know about them already? Like, if you're going to this movie, you don't know anything, okay, great. Stay like that. Just fucking enjoy the movie for what it is. If you don't understand it, Google it. Oh, hey, does Superman do this or do that? No. You'll find out. But yes, these characters have been around for so long. You know their origins. You know what they are. Okay?
And that's what it does. That's what I really liked about it. It didn't hold your hand. This was Batman in Batman v Superman had been Batman for 20 years.
20 years.
20 years. He had gone through all his Batmanness.
Yeah.
This
the
was like
villains, the deaths.
this was
Yeah.
old and grizzled Batman, which also has its own precedent. I mean, in almost every incarnation in like the comics and the animated shows where they've shown Batman as being old and grizzled,
Yeah.
still he's very different. He does not come out well.
No.
This is based on the Dark Knight Returns Batman, which was where a lot of this inspiration comes from.
Yeah. He dealt with a lot of shit. So if he's, a little tweaked and he like doesn't trust Superman, it comes
Well, it's
with
not just
cause.
that. He's a lot more ruthless. He's always been depicted as such. I mean, old Batman in Batman Beyond when it first came out, that first episode where it was like his last day as Batman, he straight up like pulled a gun on a guy because he was just tired of dealing with the shit. He didn't want to do
Yeah.
the dance anymore. And when he's like, oh shit, I'm using a gun, he's just like, it's time to retire.
Yeah.
Or even in the Batman series where, like, again, he's old and grizzled, and Nightwing tells him just like, your mission's done. Why don't you just leave it to me? And he's just like, the mission's never done.
Yeah, he can't stop.
He can't stop. It's obsessed. It consumes him, which they did a very good job in the comic portraying that. I mean, you understand. It's just like, yes, that's a 20-year-old That's a dude who's been Batman for 20 years.
Yeah.
Who's been consumed by that because that's all he has.
Exactly. So, I mean, there's a lot of hints in the movies, and obviously, with the suit, haha, jokes on you. Obvious, reference to the Joker killing, Jason Todd. Like, Robin died.
Subtext, people.
So, like,
It exists.
I mean, come on, think about it. And so, obviously, beating Batman, being angry or more ruthless, kind of like, hey, we need to put a stop to this, like, now. It makes sense. He is saying definitely a lot of people die because of his villains. It's just Batmaning for 20 fucking years. In the line he says, how long do good guys stay good? So him wanting to stop Superman is just, a drive in him. He's paranoid. If you've seen shit, you're not going to be really, really calm about, some alien from outer space.
Yeah,
just
you
wrecking
already
the
showed this
city.
is a guy that's experienced loss, like, pretty much all his life. He's
Yeah.
experienced loss and failure, and he's just had this drive. And now, because him losing a bunch of his people in Metropolis,
Yeah.
it gives him reason again. That's like you even said, like Alfred, Jeremy Irons playing Alfred. I mean, fuck, dude, that was That was
He was a good Alfred.
That was a damn good Alfred.
Yep.
I love Jeremy Irons as Alfred.
Yeah.
Or he even tells him, he's just like, that's the feeling, that's how it starts. You get that feeling of helplessness that turns good men cruel because they obsess over it, it consumes them. And that's what is going on. You understand. It's just like, yes, with the kind of personality that Batman has to be Batman, that's how he'd become. This is what I'm saying. This is where people just, I don't know, like, I have trouble understanding how you can come to these conclusions if you claim to know these characters the way you do. If you know what inspired it, The Dark Knight Returns, Injustice, all these different influences, the ones that they even explicitly state, we took, influence from this. I mean, hell, there are even scenes in the movie because Zack Snyder actually likes using comic panels as storyboards.
Yeah.
Like when he directed Watchmen, he actually took panels from the graphic novel and used them as storyboards.
Exactly.
So he's taking things straight from the pages, which is what these movies are based on. And people try to say it's not true to the source. It's like he's taking it straight
that's the most frustrating
from
part.
the source. But no, okay, this is an actual argument. When I was trying to, because I was trying to figure out what people's problem were, so I asked, and this was one of the responses that I got where he said that Batman was overly mean, or he didn't know why Batman was so angry. I'm like,
really?
Really?
It was kind of.
You don't know why Batman's angry.
Then you clearly need to go back and read some comics. And, I asked a couple of people myself too, this is the same thing, Batman doesn't use guns. Batman
he murdered people with guns. That was another one. I was just like, the only time he explicitly shot anyone with guns in the movie was in a dream sequence.
Yeah.
A dream sequence.
It did not happen.
It did not happen in the context of the movie. And he shot at people in cars with his plane-mounted machine guns and his car-mounted machine guns, which he's done in several shows and comics. Yeah. In fact, I have a comic where he's shooting someone from his bat plane with a machine gun mounted on his bat plane.
Yeah.
And he says, quote, I don't like taking human life, but in this case it's necessary, while shooting at someone in a car from his bat plane.
Yeah.
Okay, Batman started out with a gun. I don't know if you people realize this, but when Bob Kane made Batman, the first run, Golden Age Batman,
he had a gun.
The original Batman, he had a gun. And it's there. I'm sorry, it exists. Batman had a fucking gun. All right. And then that's what I was trying to explain to him. Just say Batman doesn't use them. I'm like, he's used guns. He doesn't use them all the time.
Yeah.
Okay,
if he doesn't use guns, what about his batarangs? You think those things tickle? These are fucking sharpened blades, you guys.
They're bat-shaped knives.
They're bat-shaped knives. He's chucking them at people's faces,
throwing bat-shaped knives at people. He has always been unhinged. Yeah. That's the whole thing. Is just Batman's always been crazy, and he's acknowledged this. But people overlook that.
Or when he punches your throat in, you think you're gonna survive a punch to the throat? No. Okay, so he won't shoot you, but he will beat the shit out of you till you die.
Or the much vaunted, Dark Knight trilogy by Christopher Nolan. Everyone fucking loved.
Oh my god.
He killed people in every single movie.
He chucked people off buildings, broke their ankles.
He didn't. He indirectly killed Bane. He armed a person that he knew didn't have the same moral compunctions as him with a frickin' weapon that shoots missiles at people.
Yep.
Willfully did so.
Shot him in the chest.
And he got shot in the chest. So he armed a known dangerous individual that didn't have the same moral code as him.
In the
and
first
gave them
one,
a gun.
With Ra's al Ghul, it's like, oh, I don't have to save you.
It's just I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. It's like, oh, so you're just
Gonna let him die.
Let him die. Yeah.
Batman killed Ra's al Ghul.
He killed Ra's al Ghul. I don't care what you pay. He could have taken him off the plane. He caused the plane, or I mean, not the plane, it was a train.
Yeah.
He caused the train to derail. So he knew this train was going to crash. Because he
in
caused it.
the middle of a city.
Because he caused it. And then left the dude incapacitated. It's just like, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. Even though I created this whole situation that you're going to die in. Laters.
Batman away!
Batman away. Just
yeah,
straight up. And he... In the Dark Knight, the Dark Knight Returns, after he went through all that trouble of trying to prove to the Joker that people don't have to stoop to his level, he goes and pushes goddamn Harvey Dent off a fucking building and kills him.
Yep.
He pushed him off a fucking building to his death.
Yep. And justified it because he needed to be the hero that Gotham
Harvey
needed.
Dent directly in that movie. And then The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, I mean, who knows how many people he killed shooting explosives from his bat plane and goddamn. Well, he caused Talia to crash and die.
Yep.
And watched her die. Like, he just stood there watching her as she bled out and died.
Yep.
But no one had any problems with that. This is a Batman that's reached the end of his limit. Is being manipulated by another genius level villain, a fucking bastard. Oh, Jesus, dude. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor in this movie is such a perfect bastard.
Yep, just like Lex is.
He's just a perfect asshole, just like a fucking just perfect asshole, like a porn star asshole, just that's been untouched, just perfect asshole. And God, dude, that's what I said. They kind of have these arguments where they cut their nose to spite their face. They just prove through their own reasoning that they just didn't understand what the fuck was going on.
It wasn't, dude. It honestly was not that hard to follow. Again,
it really wasn't.
If you know the source material, you know exactly what the hell is going on in the movie step by step.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, they knew people want to treat it as a standalone film. They said it didn't work as a standalone film. But it's like none of these movies work as standalone films because they're not. They're not. We all know that these are connected. We know this going in.
Yeah.
I mean, none of the Marvel movies work as standalone films.
No.
Even going into later, the later Phase 1 and Phase 2, and now we're in Phase 3, even the individual films, the origin stories don't work as standalone films because they're attached to a larger world. That's what makes these characters work. Because they don't exist in their own little thing. They're not standalone films. You have to think of these comic movies as live action issues. Because that's what they are. That's what makes them so unique.
Exactly.
And see, this is another complaint that people had, that it was rushed, that there was too much. See, I've seen arguments where they said nothing happens in Batman v Superman, that it's boring, that nothing goes on. And there's people saying there's too much that goes on.
Yeah.
So it's either, there's too much in it, or there's nothing in it.
Which again goes back to the argument, these people are just bitching for the sake of bitching. They hop on the bandwagon to hate the movie, and they latch on to the first reason they can grab onto. Again, it's people who have no idea who these characters are, have no back history with what...
They said that the DC EU movies should have followed Marvel's example and built it up over time, but you don't... That's what I'm saying. That the DC doesn't hold your hand. They didn't have to do that. Marvel didn't want to do it that way. That wasn't their original plan. You think they wanted to wait, frickin' 8 years to make $1 billion off the Avengers?
Nope.
No. They probably would have wanted to make $1 billion in their first movie, but they didn't have... Because you have to understand, Marvel almost went bankrupt in the 90s. They were in Chapter 11, and the way that they managed to stay afloat is they sold off all their film rights. So they got scattered to the four winds. That's the reason why you can't see Wolverine or any of the X-Men in the Marvel MCU. except for Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, because that's a whole convoluted mess. It's really hard to explain. You have to understand that they can use them because they both were like charter members of the Avengers, while at the same time being mutants, and they also have a convoluted storyline in the comics, which kind of helps the ambiguity. So
their powers, yeah.
They're in a kind of legal limbo loophole bullshit, but yeah. So that's the reason why it took so long for them to get Spider-Man in there, because Sony had a fucking death grip on Spider-Man. They wouldn't let him come home, but then Sony started bleeding fucking money from every orifice.
Yep, and it's like, well,
like a hemophiliac.
They're making a lot of money. Let's go ahead and throw Spider-Man in there. We'll get a contract. Give us, like $50 million. All right, there we go. Obviously $50 million. I don't know. I didn't see the contract. But, they asked for money. They got it. And now they're going to say, well, how about you use it for the next movie? Something they should have done a long time ago.
So the Marvel phases were done out of necessity, to give them time to reacquire their rights, to build their fucking character library so that they could do all this shit like Civil War, Infinity War, the Avengers. They had to, because they didn't have it all at the time. They reacquired them over time.
Exactly.
And then Disney buying them out helped, facilitate it, because now they had Disney money to back them up. But I mean, they if they had all of their characters under one roof, it would have been much faster process. It's just that we got used to that, and they found that they can take their time, because we've already gotten used to it. It's like DC doesn't have to do that, and they shouldn't. I mean, because then people would bitch at them that they're just doing the same thing that Marvel's doing.
Again, just hopping on bandwagons.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't have to follow the same path. DC entire character library has been under the control of Warner Brothers from the beginning. They could have done this a long time ago, but instead they focused on Batman and Superman. Yeah. And see, this is also the thing. All the things that they don't like about the new Batman and Superman movies, that they're not, goofy enough, but at the same time, you have these critics that don't want them to be goofy.
Because they can't handle it.
Because it's just like a whole thing. People don't know what they want. But, I mean, it's been done before. Both Superman and Batman were basically just camped almost to the point of non-existence. Batman Begins, the Christopher Nolan trilogy, almost didn't happen because of Batman and Robin, which was like the ultimate cheese of Batman on top of Adam West, maybe.
Yeah.
But, I mean, all the silly shit, it had been done before. So why would DC retread that? I mean, seriously, what reason would they have to? They did it, and it died. It died. And then they did Superman Returns, which, was an art housey Superman movie, and it did terrible. Mm-hmm. And so Man of Steel comes out, does really well, made $500,000 worldwide.
Which is still a funny thing.
I mean, not $500,000, $500 million. Yeah. $500 million, which is pretty good considering that was their first DC Universe movie. It, none of the Marvel Phase 1's movies made
that much money.
Made that much.
Yeah. And that's the funniest thing, these people bitching and moaning, saying they're not gonna go watch the movie and everything, and these movies still make.
They still make a lot of money. So
money,
yeah, I mean, all these people that claim to hate it,
you're just wasting breath.
You still watch it. You're still gonna watch it. That's the whole thing. It's just what I do when there's something that I say I'm not gonna watch. I don't watch it. I don't watch it.
Fan Four Stick was one of those movies.
I still haven't seen it.
The only reason I watched it is because my brother was playing it at his house, and I wasn't even I was in and out of that movie. It was a fucking terrible movie. I knew it was gonna be terrible. Fucking goddamn Doom looked like tinfoil with LED lights. It was just. I mean, when we get into it, we'll maybe do an episode of that some other time. But it was just a terrible movie. It was terrible plot progress, just terrible casting, just awful movie altogether.
And you could say we're being hypocritical, doing the same thing where we're not, passing judgments on things I haven't seen. That's not true. It's like if I don't have the compunction, if there's something that I don't want to watch, I won't watch it.
Yeah.
And I won't really form an opinion on it until I actually see it.
Yeah.
Because I can be objective.
Exactly.
Which is, what I was taught to be in film school, is sometimes you have to be objective. And it really is, because it opens you up to a lot more things. You can see things that you didn't see before.
Yeah.
But, yeah, dude, it just... Oh.
Anyway.
Just
you
a
just
lot
have
of...
to just stop getting...
A lot of retard. The summed up is that the DCEU and the MCU both work for different reasons. They're not the same thing. You can't treat them as the same thing. DC has always been more willing to take risks with their characters because they could, because they had complete creative control over. Marvel had to play it safe because there were a lot of their characters were kind of out of their creative control for a long time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they both have different ways of portraying characters. They're two sides of the same coin. They both work in their individual ways. They should not be compared to each other as being the same thing.
Exactly.
You shouldn't have to. Because, I mean, it's not. You want to get the full spectrum of these characters, you need to have a full spectrum. If you just stay on one end of the spectrum, that's all you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
So they both work. People are wrong about Batman v Superman because pretty much all of their... I mean, the biggest talking points are just bullshit. Just, yeah.
Bullshit.
Bullshit that, if you understand these characters, can be easily debunked. Why is Batman mean? Because he's Batman. Batman's always been mean.
And he's tired of people's shit.
He's tired of shit. He's suffered loss all of his life. He's psychologically damaged. He's driven. He is insane, but I guess a better kind of insane.
Yeah.
That's just how he is. He's at the end of his rope. He's lost people. He's also being manipulated by someone who's taking advantage of this, because he knows who he is, to work him against someone who's on a more
destructive path.
Destructive. It has the power that he wishes he had or fears.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have it. And this is okay. You have a guy who's trying to find his place in the world, and then he's facing off another guy who is so sure of his place in the world, and they clash.
Yeah.
While being manipulated by Lex Luthor.
So clearly, shit is gonna go down.
Shit's gonna go down, and then you have other characters in it because they're part of it. See, this is probably my biggest complaint about Batman v Superman. My real legitimate complaint is that the placement of the Justice League cameos could have been done a little better. I can understand. It was a little bit jarring.
Yeah.
I mean, because she gets sent that in the email when he sends the files that he hacked from Luthor's computer.
Yeah.
That could have been put in at a different place. I think it would have flowed a lot better in the movie had it been placed like towards the end. Like she opened her email, saw that whole thing with the picture, because he pulls her back into the fray. She was trying to avoid all that shit. And when he's just like, what have you been doing all this time? We need you. Gives her a reason to fight again, so she comes in. Then after he talks to her about, we need to join together, she could go back and check that email.
Yeah.
And she sees all that shit going on, and there you go, you have your Justice League cameos. That could have been done a lot better.
It could have been done better, but also, I mean, what I still think about this movie is that the director, the studio, everything that was built into this movie was supposed to be for people who already knew who these people are, who these characters are.
Again, they don't hold your hand.
No, it's like, you don't know, too bad. Go figure it out on your own. It's like,
Because you know what? People still fucking watch it.
Because people still gonna fucking watch it. Again, you have no excuse not to know who fucking Cyborg is. You have no excuse to know who not Flash is, and all these other characters. So they just showed a little quick, couple seconds, footage of them. It's like, oh, okay, hey, that's that guy. Okay, I know, cool. You could have known what to expect.
Yeah.
So like.
I love how there's people in the Marvel movies that just like kind of act, just like, because they don't want to seem uncool or whatever, they just act like they know everything in there.
Jesus.
Oh my god. When we saw the Avengers, when they had the freaking Thanos Easter egg.
Oh my god.
You remember the
Seriously.
kid? You remember the fucking kid? Is that Purple Hulk?
I wanted to turn around and tell that guy, his parents,
great.
like, just get out. Get the fuck out of here. Like, how dare you?
Yeah, it wasn't like a little kid.
He was probably like at least 13.
13. Yeah,
You know.
13, 14. If it was a little kid, I could understand. But, dude, 13-year-old is just like, come on. They're not as dumb as they...
Well, clearly he was.
Well, he was. But, I mean, you have a goddamn smartphone. You have a computer. You have high-speed internet. You have Wikipedia, for Christ's sake. You have all these things at your fingertips. You are more connected to the information world
Than we were
than we were before. We had to seriously dive into all these things. We had to, like, really fucking go through it to learn the things that we did. We actually had to read the issues to know who these people are. Nowadays, it's you don't know who someone is, you just type their name into Google, bam, you know their whole history.
Yep.
No excuses. No
Heropedia.
fucking excuses. Yeah, that's the whole thing. There's no excuses to not know who these characters are. If you're gonna go fucking watch this movie and you know the characters that are in them, and you're just like, I didn't know that about them, it's like, why not? You knew that they were gonna be in this movie. You have internet.
Yep.
Why didn't you know? You know, whatever. Fuck off. Bunch of dumbasses.
Alright, well, let's move on to the next one. We're getting kind of tied up in all this shit with the...
It's a-
I mean, this could be a whole fucking, like,
We
super
could
episode.
we could keep going. Yeah, I need another beer anyways.
Yeah.
But see, this is what happened. These are the conversations that we had. This is why we decided to record them, because we thought it would be amusing.
And it is.
Yeah, well, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah.
Are you amused?
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Which was supposed to be our original podcast name until some fucker decided to use it just a couple months ago.
There are no original ideas
Nope.
anymore. It sucks.
Although,
Oh, by the way, the goddamn Batfleck is the best Batman
the
ever.
goddamn Batfleck. Yeah.
Bane approves.
Bane.
I like the Batfleck. He's very good with the children.
Yeah.
He was the bomb in Phantoms.
Phantoms was the bomb.
Man's life is his life, Mr. US man. Okay. So, yeah. Brand loyalty, groupthink. These are things we try to combat.
Because they're stupid.
Because they're stupid. You should form your own opinion. If you base your opinion off of the things that we're saying...
You'll be right. Otherwise, you're wrong.
You will be right. But at the same time, yes, it's just like, hopefully you're listening to us because we have congruent opinions. Not because you're just like, okay.
Although you want to be our sheeple, go for it.
Yeah, well, we're more than welcome. We welcome sheeple. And your money.
Yes. Donate to us.
Donate to us. Send us your wallets.
And your women.
And your women. As long as they're 18 and up.
Yes.
So, moving on. Other news. This is more near and dear to my heart
Yes, you do know more about this stuff than I do.
than Ace does. Gareth Edwards has dropped out as being the director of the sequel to 2014 Godzilla, which This
It's a sad day.
A sad day for me because I really like the 2014 Godzilla. I really like Gareth Edwards, what he did with it, how much respect he paid to the material. Like not like how Roland Emmerich did in fucking 1997, where he created a Godzilla movie that wasn't a Godzilla movie. They just took the name.
I pretend that movie doesn't exist.
I drink to forget that movie. It was fucking terrible. It was just horrible. It would be like if they made a Ninja Turtles movie where they weren't ninjas or turtles, like
But
they were
like a bunch of kids or something.
I don't even know if they would be kids. It
Lizards.
was just like yes,
Lizard
they were
kids.
lizard. They were
Lizard
lizard kids that had AK-47s,
And they still called it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
and they still called it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It just it had nothing of the original. You have to understand that the kind of cultural icon Godzilla is to Japan. I really don't know why I like Godzilla so much. I've seen the movie since I was a child. It just fascinated me as a child, and then as I grew older and I understood where it came from, the history of it. When the original Gojira came out in Japan, it came out in 1954. We bombed them in 45.
So shortly after.
So this movie came out within a decade. A decade. Not like... So this is very fresh in people's minds. I mean, I don't even know how to compare it to. I guess it would be like if some kind of parable monster movie referencing 9/11 came out in like 2010.
Yeah.
Is the only way that I could really think about it. I mean, but it would be worse than that. It just like this was the kind of the shit people were still dealing with the fallout of what had occurred, the nightmares, the fucking just trauma of that. And all of a sudden they come out with a movie that encapsulated all their fears and gave it a physical form.
Exactly.
The original Gojira was a horror movie. It wasn't like
an action monster.
Like an action monster movie, like how it was,
monsters or something like that.
The way it was advertised in America, because we were the ones who bombed the shit out of them. We're not going to be like, witness our horrors that we have visited upon them Japs.
Yeah.
But it just... So, yes, it really left an impression on the Japanese people's minds, so it just became a cultural icon in a way that I don't even know what compares in America. Like Captain America, Superman, maybe?
Yeah. I don't know.
Like a combination of Captain America, Superman, and fucking, like, George Washington.
Yeah.
Chopping down that cherry tree. That's the best way I can describe it. Just like it became ingrained in their country's just like culture just like the totem. Godzilla movies kind of had a prestige even at their silliest in the Showa era, when it got marketed to kids to keep it going, keep that money train going, keep it alive, because kids don't want to watch a fucking horror movie about people melting in the streets.
Yeah, because of the radiation.
Because of the fucking radiation, all that stuff. They're revered. So there's a lot of responsibility when you attempt to adapt something that has that much meaning to somebody, and you don't respect any of that. Which is what happened in 97. It was a fucking atrocity. It didn't respect any of that. It just took the most fantastical elements of it. That is a giant, radiation-breathing lizard, which in their version, it didn't even breathe radiation, didn't have any kind of breath weapon, and he got killed by fucking missiles instead of being this, indestructible Wrath of God monster
Yeah.
revisiting upon them. You
As
know,
punishment for humanity's cruelty to the world.
yeah. It's just, yeah, it's gonna piss them off.
Yeah.
Which is why when I went into the 2014, I was just like, please God,
Let this be good.
let it be good. Just, can we show that we're not a bunch of assholes, that we can actually respect something?
Yeah.
Please. And it was. I mean, Gareth Edwards did a fucking great job of balancing, you know, the horror, the horror aspects of it,
Yeah.
the natural disaster parables,
The mystery about it.
the mystery about it, just like the irresponsibility of humans, you know, just kind of coming back to bite them in the ass. The whole duality of Godzilla himself being a kind of anti-hero, just like being the savior and the destroyer at the same time.
It was like I forget the whole line, but how he talks. The arrogance of man is thinking that we control nature or something. Forget the lines.
Arrogance of man is thinking that nature is in our control and not the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarazan, that's what he says before. He says, "Let them fight."
Let them fight.
It's like, you're damn right.
And I still remember. I mean, I like Godzilla 2 a lot. I mean, obviously Dennis a lot more than me, but
I collect.
Like,
You see all that behind me.
someday you'll see it.
Someday you'll see it. I collect SH Monster Arts Godzilla figures. That's what I do.
I still remember
Is collect some pop characters.
the pops. Yeah.
The Funko Pop.
Yeah.
The weird heads.
Yeah. But I still remember when I first saw the movie in the theaters, and I think we saw it at the premiere.
It was around my birthday too.
Yeah.
That's all I heard.
Yeah, and like I still remember the feeling in my heart. The second that out of the smoke, you see the blue glow. Like I, almost stood up in the middle of the theater, wanted to scream "Hell yeah!" You know, but didn't because I didn't want to get kicked out. But dude, that was the most exciting part for me in the whole
Seriously,
movie.
when I saw the blue glow, I was just like, oh, I'm done. Just
it was ridiculous, dude. Like honestly,
jizz right there.
and it was. We were talking about it. It's like, dude, I really before the movie started. Dennis and I talked. I was like, dude, I really hope they do the atomic breath.
I was
Like,
just like,
that would
they
just-
have to.
They would just do it for me. They had to do it.
They fucking had to do it.
And then we were just like, dude, they're fighting and they're fighting. It's like, dude, where the fuck is it? Like, what's going on? And then just smoke.
And then you
And
just
then
see
the glow. Ah! Oh my god, dude, it was beautiful.
I could have been struck dead at that moment, and I would have been happy. I was just been like, yep,
that's it. I'm done.
I'm done. That's all I needed to see. It's in good hands.
Yeah, seriously, that. It was fantastic,
But yeah, as we all know, Gareth Edwards went on to direct the first Star Wars anthology film, Rogue One, which you see the trailer for that. That looks fucking amazing.
Hell yeah.
I mean, the visual imagery in it just looks fucking great.
It's gonna be a delicious movie.
But just after I heard that, that he was doing that, and so Godzilla got, because it was a huge success. Yeah, I think it made over $500 million worldwide too. Its sequel got pushed back to 2018. I was like, oh, because he's doing Star Wars. Okay, fine. Because we love Star Wars. So I was just like, he knocked Godzilla out the park, and now he's being given Star Wars. Man, I want to see what he can do. I can wait. It's just I waited this long. I could wait longer, and.
Yep. Then
all of a sudden it's just he was tired of doing blockbusters, just Star Wars drained him, and he's just I want to work on small projects. Yeah. It's fuck! God damn you! Fucking Star Wars draining. It's just because my fan heart was just it was torn. Because he's just I love Star Wars. I'm happy that he's doing this. Rogue One looks good, but at the same time, it's just Godzilla, man. Star Wars has had plenty of attention. Let the fucking G-Man shine for once.
But luckily for Dennis and us, There'll be plenty of other great movies to hold us over until the next one.
Oh yeah, it's Japan.
Although,
Japan's doing their own version now because because they had to do a response because it's their baby. It's just like when something like this came out, knocked it out of the park. They're just like, oh, America made a good Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Well, we invented Godzilla.
Yeah.
So they came out with it. So they come out with Godzilla Resurgence, as it's called in America. In Japan, it's Shin Gojira, which is roughly translated as True Godzilla, or God Godzilla, or it's a very ominous kind of title, which kind of makes sense because they're trying to post the they're like, we the OGs of this shit.
Yeah.
We're the fucking Osiris of this shit.
Yeah.
And it's being directed by Hideki Anno, which you have to understand who Hideki Anno is. He fucking did a little series called Neon Genesis Evangelion, which was as much as a cultural influence in Japan as it was in America. It really changed the whole fucking giant robot series.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand, before that, it was Gundam. Then all of a sudden, Evangelion came out, and people were like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But Hideki, he's got some demons. I don't know, just like, he's really...
dark.
like, he will... A lot of his projects have been postponed because of, like, just, like, personal issues with him. And they're very quiet about that. They don't... they're not like here in America where, like, if some celebrity has a panic attack, it's in every fucking tabloid. No, they keep that shit under wraps. So you will have just complete radio silence on any project he's working on because they don't want to talk about, like, oh, dude, he's not in a good way. They don't tell you that shit. So you're just like, what the fuck's going on? And he's recently been working on this rebuild series of Evangelion. It's a quadrilogy, 4 films, which were supposed to be completed by 2012.
Yeah.
It is now 2016, and the 4th movie still hasn't been released in Japan because of all the delays with his demons, his personal issues, all the hiatuses. Yeah. Long months, even years of just like, what the fuck's going on? Then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, he's doing Godzilla. It's like, what the fuck, Hideki? Where's goddamn Rebuild, the series that you were supposed to finish, fucking 4 years ago?
Yeah. It's kind of like...
It's just like, oh, I'm working on Godzilla. It's just like, oh, well, I can't really get mad about that because...
half expect him to be like in a room being like, all these squares make a circle.
All these squares make a circle. God, dude, I can't really be mad about that because he's such a...
He will do a good job.
I mean, yes. If you haven't seen Evangelion before, watch it.
Yep.
Watch the rebuild. And they're very different takes on the same story. That's part of his problem, is he can't figure out how he really wants this story to end, which is why he keeps making different versions of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's really good visual director. He can really get into your head. Yeah. That's kind of his specialty. Probably one of the reason why he has so many demons.
He's a twisted man.
But yeah, speaking of this is what we're talking about. Just people just putting their own agendas on things and just like stirring pots where pots don't need to be stirred. There was a controversy, which you can't see that, but I did air quotes.
Yeah.
Because it's not being licensed. You have to understand, anything that comes from another country, it has to be licensed, which gives distribution rights. So even though you got the legendary Godzilla going on, and they don't necessarily have the rights to a Toho Godzilla movie, which is what this is, and it's coming out in Japan next month. And as of now, there's only one licensing company called New World Cinemas, which is trying to bring Shin Gojira to the States, Godzilla Resurgence, as a limited release, but they're trying to get it in every state.
Yeah.
So, obviously the pressure's on them from the community that wants this movie to be here. And on their social media, they made a post that said, "To all Godzilla fans, we are working hard to bring Godzilla to every state. Patience, my friends. She is coming soon." She, which is a typo, but you can imagine, all the implications that in our social climate, what that meant.
Yeah.
This is Godzilla, which has long been purported the king of the monsters. One of the few monsters that is purported explicitly as being a he.
Yeah.
Sparked this whole huge debate where, guess where? Tumblr?
The feminazis.
Just Tumblr. Tumblr in general.
Gross.
Just this whole thing about just like, why can't he be a woman or a female or all this? It's just like
he's not.
It's because he's not. It's
Simple
not.
as
It's
that.
not about that. It really isn't. It was a fucking typo.
Yeah.
And Toho never released an official statement about. They just took this one thing and just ran with it.
Yeah.
They created this whole fucking hullabaloo, controversy, air quotes, over a fucking typo. Toho never said just like, this Godzilla is going to be a female or anything like that. Nothing like that. But they just started doing this whole speculation, stirring the pot, making it into an issue that should have been non-existent to begin with. It's just like those issues, transgender issues, just sexism, all that stuff has an arena. A fucking Godzilla movie is not the goddamn arena for that.
Mm-mm.
It should be completely like neutral territory. It's a fucking kaiju movie.
It's fucking monsters.
It's monsters. It's like, nah, it's just like sex nun. They're fucking monsters.
Yeah.
Is it just... I don't know. This is what I'm tired. This is the kind of... This is the kind of thing that's... The trend that's been going on where people just want to draw lines. They just want to draw lines in the fucking sand. Even though sand's not stable and you can erase those lines super easily.
Yeah.
But they just want to draw lines. They want people to be at odds with each other for no fucking reason, man. And that kind of shit just pisses me off.
Yep.
We're equal opportunity haters.
And we will hate you all the time.
We'll hate you all you want. Equally.
Yeah.
Equally.
There's enough hate to go around.
There's enough hate to go around. Or none. Just, either way, just like your shit. Like your shit. And...
Don't be a bitch.
Yeah. Should put that on a bumper sticker.
All right. Don't be a bitch.
Like your shit, don't be a bitch.
Yep.
Kind of catchy, eh?
Yeah.
Like your shit, don't be a bitch.
All right. That's copyright. Nights of Day.
TM.
Yeah.
Trademark.
Trademark. There we go. It's on the record.
Okay. So moving on to the next part here is we want to recommend things to you. Things you might know about that hopefully we can broaden your horizons on. So this is our Nights of Day, Please Don't Sue Us, recommends section.
Well,
Ace, do you have something? I have something. I didn't know if you had something.
Well, I recently finished watching this show on Hulu, 11/22/63. Pretty damn good. It's a story, written by Stephen King. Where pretty much in this show, James Franco goes into the past to try and stop the assassination of John F. Kennedy. It's like based in this, the time hole or whatever, time portal is in this diner, and he goes and he does all this shit and he stays there. But the way that it works is that, if he goes, he can't come back, because if he goes back inside time, it resets. Every time he comes and goes, it resets. So if he leaves, he can't come back, or it'll undo everything he's done. And the time he spends in there, he actually ages. You know, he doesn't like stop aging. So if, say he spends like 10 years, he leaves, comes back to his real time, he's 10 years older. You know, and in the real world, in the future, the premise of the story is that no matter how long he stays over there, only 2 minutes pass in the present. It's a pretty interesting story, you know. You'd have to see a lot of it's a lot of drama, a lot of back and forth, but, you know, written by Stephen King, it's a pretty good, you know, good story. So
Yeah. Stephen King, with the body of work that he has, you know, you're bound to get some gems.
yeah,
But yeah, Stephen King just cranks that shit out.
yeah,
He's a goddamn machine, man.
yeah. I mean, it's only like 8 episodes long, but each episode's like an hour. So
You know what Stephen King project I'm looking forward to?
I don't know.
The Dark Tower.
Oh, that's right, the Dark Tower. We were talking about it.
Idris Elba's gonna be in the Dark Tower.
Yeah.
I don't know who he's playing yet. I don't know if they've even announced who he's playing.
No, they just showed a still of him.
But Idris Elba's gonna be in the Dark Tower. And the Dark Tower, ooh, that's a story I want to see on film. I mean, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a Western mythological movie, so it's gonna be interesting. If you've never read the Dark Tower before, check that one out. Like if you like any of Stephen King stuff, just, you know, The Shining,
Yeah.
The Shining,
So many great things.
so many great things. The Dark Tower is kind of like his opus. It's different from his other stuff, and at the same time it's still kind of connected, because if you've seen or read any of Stephen King stuff, he has very congruent, you know, symbolism.
Yeah.
Like, spiders are always kind of used as the symbol for the ultimate form of evil.
The symbology.
What's
Symbolism.
the symbolism? What's the symbology there? But so, like, even though these stories taking place in different worlds, different times, all that stuff, there's very congruent symbolism throughout all of them, which kind of ties them all together.
It's gonna be a great movie. So.
It's going to be a great movie. You should actually check out. I would say check out the comic series that Marvel did.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if you don't have time to read them thick ass, you know, phone book novels that Stephen King writes, it's a really the Marvel adaptation's a really good adaptation. Because there's so much visual language, and that's the reason why those books are so thick, because, you know, King spends so much time describing the imagery when Marvel can just have an artist fucking paint that, you know. But, yeah.
So it makes it shorter.
So, what was the name of the series on Hulu?
11/22/63.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen that, so I'll check that out. I wasn't sure what that was about. I heard it was a star. I didn't know that there was time travel involved.
Yeah.
Cool. Check that one out then.
Yeah. It's a pretty neato burrito.
On my end, there's this little series that I actually bought recently, rewatched, so it's kind of fresh in my mind. It's a anime series from Japan called Spice and Wolf. And it's only 26 episodes long. This is one of the things that I love about Japanese animation, is that they tend to keep things neat. You know, you get a season, a good solid season worth of content, and then it's over. And then you can move on to something else, instead of just investing years of your life into it.
Yeah.
But this story of Spice and Wolf is about a merchant. It takes place in medieval times, and there's a merchant named Kraft Lawrence, traveling merchant, who one of his regular spots is a pagan village that worships a wolf god called Hollow, or Holo, and she basically has long been believed she's what decides whether their crop is plentiful or not. But because the church is moving in and just kind of, wiping out paganism, they're starting to move away from that. Yeah. So they don't really believe in her anymore. They've learned to master agriculture on their own without relying on a giant wolf god. So she doesn't feel the need to fulfill her promise to them anymore. She's just like, well, I can wipe my hands of that. They don't need me anymore.
Yeah.
So she ends up with this traveling merchant and promises him, fortune because he's a merchant, and she's Hollow the Wise Wolf, who's got centuries of knowledge to share with him to bring him riches.
Yeah.
But
I have to watch it then because I have not seen it either.
it's a fantasy series, but it's a very uncommon fantasy series in that it focuses a lot on just character development and economics. I mean, this show, if you're ever interested in economics, I know not a lot of people are, but this show does a really good job of explaining basic economics to people. Especially with like the way that they did it back then. Just like, this is kind of like the grassroots of commerce, like how a lot of the ways we do things now were originally established. So, I mean, if you don't understand economics, or you want to, it will actually give you a pretty good understanding. I learned a fair bit of economics from this series, probably almost as much as we did in our economics class in high school.
Oh my god, dude. That
Rusty Johnson.
That class was impossible.
Oh man, it's just like if you failed one quiz, that was a fourth of your grade.
Yeah, it was.
It was savage.
Yeah.
Fucking Rusty Johnson, the ancient one.
He did not give no fucks.
Oh no, you pretty much had to be good to go as soon as you got in class, because once he started his lecture, he didn't stop.
Nope.
It's like there were no stops on that pain train. He just ran you down with economic knowledge, and he's just like, you get it, got it, good. I'm gonna go hit the links. Yep. See ya. Fucking Jesus. But I mean, yeah. That's what's really interesting about it. The economics aspect of it, like how they did commerce, all that. Just the character development. So how they develop as people in the series is really interesting to watch. It's not childish at all. It's this is one of the things you have to understand is that just because it's animated doesn't mean it's for kids.
Exactly.
And we have things like Family Guy and South Park which aren't for kids.
No.
But it's not Lobo. It's actually pretty sophisticated. It's got a pretty sophisticated story. Not like super highbrow, but I mean, a child is not going to like this series.
No.
But someone our age, even
enjoy
older, will enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy it. I enjoy it immensely. It's funny. It's insightful. It's got a really good character arc. And it's short. It's 26 episodes. You can fucking binge watch it. I mean, you people probably do this all the time anyways with Netflix and Hulu. You can take in the series in one sitting if you really, really wanted to.
Yeah.
Or two, or three. But, I mean, you can get through it pretty quickly. And the series flows pretty nicely, too. Just like one episode just goes into the next one effortlessly. So, that's my recommendation for this podcast episode. Spice and Wolf. Check it out. Or not. Fuck off.
Whatever.
Yeah, fuck off. I don't really care. I don't really care. My self-worth is not equal to your opinion of what I like or not.
Alright, so...
Another Tales from Austin.
I don't know. I've been trying to think of one for now, and I can't really think of anything to share.
You don't have anything to share?
Not that I can think of right now, really.
What about your corporate games?
Oh, well, okay, I guess we'll talk about that. Again, I work at Apple, so every year we have like this like mini Olympic kind of thing there. Pretty much different groups of people, different teams from the entire company, get together and play games, like against each other, like little goofy games like ring tosses and beanbag toss and what's it called? There was one that I was actually managing was the Shark Attack. They had 3 pools and people had to wore like these hats with cups on them, and they have to pour water from one cup to the other without touching the cup or themselves, and have to get it to a cylinder at the end and just have a certain amount. So that was pretty fun. People fell in the pools. It was fun to watch. But yeah, I mean that's what I did today. That was today, and it was pretty cool. Maybe next year I'll do it again.
Maybe they'll let you. Maybe it won't be on a day where you're supposed to have off.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, fucking waiting all day.
Yep.
Waiting for you to get out of work when on your day you're not supposed to be fucking working.
Well, good thing I ain't gonna work tomorrow, Dennis.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we got shit to watch, so we have more things to talk about. But
Well, what are we gonna watch after the episode that we're done recording?
we got a pretty big movie collection. We'll find something. But for me, my job requires me to be out on the streets very early in the morning. Very early in the morning. So I don't know if it's just because of those wee morning hours, but I tend to see a lot of weird shit. And this one time when I was heading to work, in the middle of the highway, I just saw this kind of flare, like, in the distance. It was just like that. That's kind of weird. Like, that looks like a fire. I was just, I wasn't going too fast. I was going about 60 miles an hour. This was 3:10 in the morning. And coming up closer, I'm like, I think that is a fire.
Yeah.
That's a fire in the middle. It was in the center lane of northbound I-35.
Okay.
Just like, yeah, that's a fire. So I slowly move over. You have to understand, my brain isn't at full capacity at that time of the day. I'm just kind of autopiloting.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I just move over and, kind of slowly go by it. And it's a fucking van. Like, it looked like a 70s Dodge van. On fire. Parked in the center lane of I-35 at 3:10 in the morning. And I just saw that and I was just like, that's fucking weird, man. And then I just kept driving. And
Interesting.
I'm not sure what I was supposed to do in that situation. I think
the police.
I was going to say I probably should have called the police. But I was just like, someone will get it.
Yeah, someone else will do it.
It's noticeable. I mean, I can't imagine anyone just like crashing into it or anything like that. But I was just trying to figure, I'm just like, what situation got to it where this van just was here on fire, parked in the center lane of I-35? And I had a couple of coworkers that came pretty much south to take the same route to get to work. I'm like, you see that flaming van on the highway this morning? It's just like, nah, man. There wasn't any flaming van. So I was just like, I even checked the news because I was just like,
maybe you was crazy.
Am I crazy? Because I didn't see any news story. I'm just like, what the did I imagine a parked flaming van in the middle of the road?
Mayhaps you did.
Mayhaps I did. I don't know, but that tripped me out pretty much all day. Just the fucking flaming van parked in the middle of I-35.
Well, no one will ever know.
No one will ever know. It's Austin, man. Just gotta leave it as that. And
That's it.
that's it. That's all we had.
It's a pretty long episode today, actually.
We had a lot to talk about.
Yep. Well, I guess we'll have to call it off for tonight, guys.
Need another beer.
We've needed another beer for a while, and we couldn't stop recording because I don't know how to do that yet. So, it's a learn as you go kind of process here. So
And we promised him it wasn't gonna be as shitty.
Yeah.
Well, if you stuck with us,
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, we're not really doing it for your validation, but we appreciate it
Yeah.
if you validate us at all.
Yeah.
Because, being in Austin, validation, especially validated parking, is really important.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so thanks, and we'll
Be sure to share and subscribe.
share and subscribe. God damn it, we're going to start
We're-
whoring ourselves out now.
We have to. It's part of the game.
Ah, man, you can leave the money on the nightstand.
Yes.
But yeah, so yeah, if you liked what you heard and you want to hear more, like and subscribe, and we will be back. We're trying to do one of these a week. We'll be back again with more ramblings
And whatnot.
and whatnot.
All right, guys. Well, this is Ace signing off.
And this is Dennis.
Laters.
Later.